Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to your Akashic Energy Forecast for the week of June 20th, 2022. I am Jennifer Longmore. If you are new to this space, and if you are, by the way, let me know so that I can officially welcome you. So every week we are channeling messages from the Akashic Records, and it makes sense. We get a lot of questions every week, which we're happy to field in this kind of capacity. There's a lot going on. We're processing a lot. We're trying to live in the paradox. We are staying high vibe the best we can. And then, of course, there's various things that happen on the world stage that can throw our energy. So we're going to dive in today, and these messages are always designed to say, how can we lift up the frequency? How can we, be a spiritual being in a human body, having a human experience and a spiritual experience, and all of the things? How do we navigate that? So this week it was actually quite a beautiful energy. It was a lot of prisms of pale pink and violet and various things like that. And just a lot of gentle energy coming in. They were showing me a lot of luminaries. That's not really a word I would use, surrounding us this week, because we're being prepared for things, right? We're being prepared for things happening on the physical plane, but also in the etheric plane. We know that this ascension is inevitable, and so we have all of these luminaries spreading this very soft, gentle energy, really holding us in that energy. There's going to be a softening in your body. There's going to be a softening in your heart and in your emotional body, your thoughts, various things. You're just going to feel a lot of gentleness around you this week. And it's designed, as I mentioned, to really hold us through this. And we just need to remember that it's there. You're probably going to feel it anyways. You might be noticing this, by the way. You might be feeling like colors are softer, even if you're going out in nature. Maybe you're presented with something that's like an emerald green tree or blade of grass or something like that. And you'll notice that it maybe has a softer frequency to it. There's a lot of frequencies coming in. There is a heart, like a massive heart opening. And I would say like a crystalline heart activation, for lack of a better way of putting it. So a lot of softness, a lot of gentleness this week. This means that we're invited, of course, to be more gentle with ourselves, more gentle with others, and be an allowance of where people are at. We know that on a frequency level, nobody's going to be on this planet with the planet vibrating the way that it is if they don't have the vibrational match for it, right? So nobody's making it onto this planet during the Great Awakening, even if we think they're asleep, even if we question why they're doing what they're doing. Nobody's here who, on a very deep, energetic and frequency-based level, are calibrated to be here. We might think that if people are quote unquote asleep, that they're not they're maybe vibrating at a low frequency. No, they're divine beings. They're coded for that. They came here to have whatever experience they had. And honestly, it's none of our business what their experience is, just as we don't like people kind of protruding or poking around, I should say, in our path and trying to tell us what we're here to do and what we're not here to do. But all of that to say that the frequency is very high. There's a softening of that energy to allow us to move through this next phase of what's coming. We're going to hear a lot of things that happen on the world stage. We do want to remember, and the guides are very clear, that we will be given information on the world stage to react. So if we find ourselves reacting, we know that we're being pulled emotionally. And that's why these soft energies are coming in to really create tranquility. Again, not a word I use very often, in our emotional bodies. So know that there's going to be a plethora of things that are wanting your reaction or wanting you to have this 911 response in your field and potentially tell everyone that there's something 911 coming. We have to remember who benefits when there's a lot of puppeting of our emotional bodies and puppeting of I'll call it fear porn on the world stage. Most people are familiar with that term. So, like, who benefits by constantly saying that there's going to be a recession? What happens when there's going to be a recession? Well, people pull their money out of the stock market. They're prepared to lose it, so they don't, they're prepared to lose some, so they don't lose it all, various things like that. There's a lot of manipulation, as an example, in any, crypto or fiat sort of market. So that's an example. But point being is that we are going to be having our emotional body poked at a lot this week and the next coming weeks. So know that if we're having a reaction, then we are likely responding from someone else's energy. So that's the first thing we want to do. Any emotion we have, any thought we have, is this even mine? Because we're syncing up so much on a unity level, right? That just because there's group energy experiencing something doesn't mean that we need to. So we can just choose not to participate in that. And then we want to really look at how do we nurture ourselves. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of light codes of tranquility coming in this week. This is a great week to create space. Just be spacious with yourself. Be spacious with your judgments. Keep them at bay, right? Be spacious in a lot of things. You'll likely feel like you're moving slower simply because that gentleness is softening any energy that might have had you going into hustle mode, panic mode, or reaction mode. Again, reaction is the awareness that your emotional body is being puppeted when you have a reaction. It doesn't mean we can't have emotions, but we can even hear really not so great news and have an energy of neutrality about it. We can still be aware of the truth of information, but not get hooked emotionally. There's a reason why we get hooked emotionally. And this week, we're being loved up with all of this gentle energy to support us in really mastering our energy body, or our emotional energy body, I should say. One of the things that guides showed me yesterday was that all of us on some level have our emotional body is kind of the last to calibrate as we're growing up. We can have a lot of arrested development. Like, we can have a lot of wisdom. We can have a lot of, we can really adult in a lot of ways, but where we can have some arrested development is in our emotional body. So this is part of our spiritual mastery, is really tuning in and being aware of what's true and being able to be with what's true without having an emotional reaction that doesn't act as a contribution to us feeling spacious and light and expansive. Yeah, I know the emotional stuff is, I'm just looking at the comments here. Thank you, Danielle, for sharing that. I appreciate that. I wish I could tell you what I do. I'm trying to think here, what do I do to manage my emotional body? I mean, I spend a lot of time in nature. I'm sure many of you do that. I think it's always helpful to have like flower essences or, crystal elixirs or things like that to help us take the edge off of things. But if we're feeling a lot of emotion, it's not that emotion's wrong, obviously. It's that a lot of times it's not even ours. So we're trying to process stuff that doesn't even belong to us. So that's why they're wanting to extend that invitation to say, okay, what part of this is mine? What part of this isn't? And then additionally, where can I look at things objectively and not get hooked emotionally? The hook is the manipulation. So it's not that the emotion is bad. It's that the hooking is the manipulation. Of course, we know where the manipulation is coming from. I'm talking in code because I'm aware that we're broadcasting on some platforms that are quite uptight. So anyways, we will, this week you might even be drawn to wear soft colors. You might just notice even your foods changing this week to have more of a softness and what's going to feel gentle in your body. I know I keep saying gentle, but this is what's coming through. You might feel guided to listen to a lot of softer frequencies. So any kind of sound frequency, you might be mindful of it anyways, where you're just aware of like a hum, so to speak, right? Those of us that are awake tend to feel that. But you'll probably be guided to, just intuitively guided to listen to a lot more gentle tones this week. Again, It's just all of the softening. To that end, they want us to be cautious with our mind, our thoughts, even ours, right? If you're getting into panic or contraction or anything like that, just ask yourself why. As an example, and many of you have heard me share this, we've been told for the last 3 years that the market's going to collapse, and it's only doubled, right? And that's all manipulated anyways. It doesn't mean that we won't see pockets of things happening, but for right now, we're not actually in a recession. And all of the actual evidence of what's happening in the market, not what's happening in the propaganda machines, but what's happening in the markets, suggests that it just keeps doubling. So that's an example of being mindful of thoughts and not getting hooked into other people's energies. Many of you know that I was running this very woo Akashic record business back in the recession of 2008, completely oblivious to the fact that there was a recession going on. And so my business thrived because I wasn't putting energy towards that. And weirdly, nobody was talking to me about a recession. Like, my clients must have known at that time, but I just was completely unaware because, of course, I haven't had a TV for a really long time, and I don't watch the news and listen to the news and so on. But that's an example of like what would have happened, and would I even be here talking to you? Would I have had to go back and get a job? Would I be doing whatever because I was putting my energy towards where it didn't matter? And by the way, we can outcreate anything. That's the beauty of us being able to move energy so well, right? We can outcreate whatever we choose. So we can avoid, we can resist, or we can outcreate. And my choice is always to outcreate things. So that's an invitation to you. That's not the guide saying that. That's me saying that. But anyways, back to our thoughts. We want to be mindful of, why am I holding certain thoughts? Like, are these my thoughts, or am I just picking up on a collective energy? And if these are my thoughts, then what are the thoughts I'm going to choose to hold instead? Of course, guarding our mind, being an impeccable steward of our consciousness, being mindful of being a creator on social media, not a consumer, being mindful of all of these new mainstream media channels that are now on the internet, Prime, Netflix, all these things, right? They have a lot of quotes in them, and they're designed to make us feel destabilized and to have us swimming in the not enoughs and the too muches and all of the things, right, that keep us out of the beauty of who we be and who we came here to be. So that's just an invitation. Of course, it's up to us if we want to do that. This week we'll feel more radiant. You might feel like you're glowing. You might have people sharing that you're glowing. I'm being shown a lot of energy coming up and going out into the world. So what would it feel like if you just set the intention this week to be radiant? Whatever that meant, you just are being, right? We know that we're here and we have this level of awakening now because we are calibrating to consciousness. We keep expanding consciousness. We're continually choosing to move up and up and up. So us doing the work and raising our vibration constantly is enough. Of course, we can do more if we choose to, right? But that already is amazing because that is elevating consciousness. When we have millions of us on the planet that are raising consciousness and raising our own consciousness, right, everything else kind of comes up with it. So we'll notice that our body feels more radiant. You might feel like your skin is glowing. You might have a little more of a sparkle in your eyes. You might notice that your words kind of emanate with more radiance and that you just speak more from that place. So that's the invitation this week. In essence, they're inviting us to play in the miracle frequency this week, to play with the miracle codes. We don't even need to know what that is. We can just set the intention and call that in wherever we're wanting to. Again, being gentle sounds, gentle information, being, of course, gentle and kind with yourself, with others, etc. It's actually going to be a pretty interesting week, right? When we look at the frequencies that are present. And I know we're heading into a solstice. And so there's just this beautiful energy that's coming up. And hopefully you can give yourself permission to bask in that. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. If you feel that anyone would benefit from this, please go ahead and share it. And I will look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.